pretty nice up here. You probably can't see the view at all, but it's not half bad. It's not half bad. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to the Morning Bible. We've got possibly a big passage today, possibly a small passage today and a small passage tomorrow. We'll see how we'll split it, depending on how long this video takes. But essentially, Jesus is now properly on trial. So before we had Jesus brought before the council, so he's been arrested by the chief priests and scribes and sort of brought into the temple. And so the council there is essentially just the Jewish religious leaders who are trying him. They're the ones who are kind of interrogating him, who decide Jesus has been blasphemous. That's kind of the verdict they bring across him, because Jesus says, "You say that I am," when they ask him, "Are you the Son of God then?" So they take that as being enough evidence. But now they're going to bring Jesus to some higher authorities. And so we'll kind of go slowly through this, but there's quite a lot. But we'll kind of pick apart what's actually happening here. Because the text says the story fairly clearly. There's some wider contextual stuff that comes in that's actually really, really helpful as well. So chapter 23, right from the beginning, verse 1 of chapter 23. Then the whole company of them arose and brought Jesus before Pilate. So the whole company of them would have been the high priests, the scribes, the Sanhedrin. The Sanhedrin, like the word Sanhedrin, isn't really mentioned in Luke, so we won't use it too much. But it's essentially the guys who are in charge of the temple. They arise and they bring Jesus before a man named Pilate. We've mentioned Pilate once or twice before, I think. Essentially, he's in charge of the area. He's kind of the Roman authority over this specific region, over Jerusalem. And so Pilate isn't Jewish, first and foremost. He doesn't follow Jewish rules. And so when they bring Jesus to Pilate, they're going to slightly change their argument about what Jesus is guilty of. So we'll see that here. And they began to accuse him, saying, "We found this man misleading our nation and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that he is himself Christ the King." And Pilate asked him, "Are you the King of the Jews?" And Jesus answered him, "You have said so." Then Pilate said to the chief priests and the crowds, "I find no guilt in this man." But they were urgent, saying, "He stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place." So, I was going to put my Bible down there, but I'm still midway through the video. So, Pilate wouldn't normally have been in Jerusalem. The reason why he's in Jerusalem at this time is because it was Passover. The meal that Jesus was having with his disciples, sort of Jewish religious meal, that was something that Pilate was trying to sort of suppress where he could. He wasn't Jewish, he was Roman, and the Romans weren't very happy with the Jewish faith. They were trying to sort of squeeze it out. And so Pilate's in the city to basically make sure that everything runs smoothly, that there aren't any uprisings, aren't any issues, that Passover is kind of tucked away and hidden where possible, and that it won't be causing any kind of riots, any civil unrest, any anger with the Roman authorities. He's trying to kind of just keep the peace, but also just smush down the Jewish people as much as possible. Smush down is the official historical term for that as well. And so that's what Pilate's doing here. And so that kind of gives you a bit of insight into Pilate's intentions in this. We know that Pilate's goal in being in Jerusalem at the moment is to try and keep the peace, try and keep order, stop there being any uprisings, stop there being any difficulties. And that will come into play quite clearly later on. And so when the people bring Jesus to Pilate, they don't bring him to Pilate saying, "This guy's blaspheming," which was what they kind of settled on at the end of last passage, because Pilate wouldn't care if Jesus was blaspheming because he doesn't believe in the Jewish faith. So they could sort of bring him over to Pilate and be like, "This guy's blaspheming against God," and Pilate would just say, "Well, I don't believe in that God, so I really don't care. This is a problem for you guys to sort out." So instead they change the argument. They give Pilate 3 arguments why Jesus should be put to death. They said, "We found this man misleading our nation and forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar, and saying that he himself is Christ a king." So 3 accusations. First one, misleading our nation. That's very vague. And so Pilate just kind of ignores that one. Misleading our nation could mean anything. And again, Pilate's probably not going to care too much about the Jewish people being misled, because he doesn't want them, being led anywhere at all. He wants them to just follow Rome. So the fact that Jesus would be misleading these people, Pilate probably doesn't care too much, because he already thinks they're doing the wrong thing. Part 2, he's forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar. So they're saying this guy is stopping us from giving our money to Caesar. That's just not true. We looked at a passage a couple of weeks ago now where in trying to catch Jesus out, the temple officials get some spies to come up to Jesus, and they say like, "Oh, Jesus, are you saying that we shouldn't give taxes to Caesar?" They're trying to catch Jesus out. They're trying to catch him saying, "Oh, don't give taxes to Caesar," and then they could arrest him. But Jesus' answer there is, give to Caesar what is Caesar's. He holds up the coin and it's got Caesar's face on it. He says, well, give this to Caesar because it's got his face on it, so it belongs to him. So Jesus doesn't say, don't give your money to Caesar, don't pay taxes. Jesus actively encourages them to give that money to Caesar because it is Caesar's. And so this second accusation they bring to him just isn't true, that he's forbidding us to give tribute to Caesar. That just isn't true. And so it's only the third accusation that kind of holds any water, and that's he is saying that he himself is Christ, a king. So it isn't enough for them to just say, oh, Jesus is Christ, because again, that won't mean anything to Pilate because he's not Jewish. So they have to say he's Christ, like a king. Jesus has come along saying he's like a king. And so Pilate rightly ignores the first two accusations because they mean nothing to him. And he picks up on the third one. So when they say, he is saying that he himself is Christ, a king, Pilate's answer is, are you the king of the Jews? He asked Jesus, are you the king of the Jews? Is that who you're claiming to be? And Jesus answers him, you have said so. And so the only thing that Pilate can kind of see Jesus potentially causing an issue with is by being the king of the Jews, right? So Pilate doesn't want this uprising of Jewish people. And so if a man walks in saying he's the king of the Jews, then you're kind of going to think, oh no, this guy is going to lead the Jewish people in some kind of uprising, in some kind of rebellion, in something. And so he's very quick to ask, he's like, are you the king of the Jews? And Jesus' answer is just, you've said so. Jesus doesn't say, yeah, I'm going to topple your whole empire, or, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that. Jesus is just like, you've said so. The kind of the peaceful answer, the almost passive answer that Jesus gives, that's enough, to comfort Pilate in that. He'll look at Jesus and he'll say, well, this guy clearly isn't, leading some kind of uprising against us, because he doesn't seem to, want to. He doesn't seem to have any interest in doing that. He's very calm, he's very peaceful. So Pilate isn't even threatened by Jesus. He doesn't feel like Jesus is leading some kind of rebellion. And so Pilate's response to this is to say, well, I find no guilt in this man. So Pilate's response in the end is like, look, you've brought him here, you've given me these 3 accusations, I can't find any grounds for any of them. But all of the people there were urgent, and they said, he stirs up the people, teaching throughout all Judea, from Galilee even to this place. So that's kind of the argument they use to finally get into Pilate's head, is they're saying, well, he's stirring up the people. He's causing some kind of uprising somehow. He's been coming all the way from Galilee all the way to here. He's come all the way across the country. And he's been teaching everywhere, and he's been changing things, and sure, he's stirring up the people by doing that. And so, yeah, that's kind of what Pilate takes, and the thing that sticks out to Pilate. So yeah, I reckon we're going to end it there today, and we're going to do part 2 of all this tomorrow, where Jesus gets sent away somewhere else. He goes instead to Herod. But for now, hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all tomorrow. Bye bye bye.